Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Backlot Banter, your favorite box office recap show on the entire internet.
God,
The
yeah.
whole thing, Tucker.
Holy shit, that's a pretty big space.
Thank you, thank you. Well, Tucker, it's our doing, I think.
That's a
I think
great
we should
point.
give ourselves a pat on
Yeah.
the back for this, because we are here to talk about September 2023
Yeah.
at the domestic and international
And
box
everyone wants to know
offices.
about September 2023's box
It's gonna
office.
go down in the history books, Tucker.
Yeah.
We're gonna chart it. I'm your host, Tanner Dykstra. I'm here with my best friend
Oh,
and
hey.
co-host
Oh, hey.
and fellow box office expert,
Yeah.
Tucker Hazel.
Yeah.
Tucker,
What are we
I
here to
gotta
do,
ask the
Tanner?
question. Tucker. Are you ready for some box office ballyhoo?
Yes, God, yeah, I am.
All right, Tucker. Let's get into the ballyhoo. But before we get into that, I just want to say, subscribe to Backlot Banter. Of course, naturally, you know it's the right thing to do. Like this video, comment down below which one of these movies you saw, because it seemed like a
Yeah.
bit of a struggle to get people out to the movies this September. So let us know which ones you saw in theaters this month. And a Discord server. Tucker, we have a Discord server.
We
Did you
do.
know that?
Yeah.
The link for that's in our description.
And we've got a box office channel in there, so if you want to just talk about box office stuff, that would make me really happy. Like,
Yeah.
we get a message there every couple of days, like someone saying, like, oh, this is about to not make money, or it's making a little money, or whatever. But come on, spice it up a little bit. We need
Spice it
you.
up a little bit. Yeah. Give us a box office hot take.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Tucker, let's talk about the top 10 domestic openings.
My hot
of
take is
September
that actually
2023.
Avatar did make money.
Whoa, hello. All right, Tucker. The top 10 is
Yeah.
a little sparse this month.
Well,
month.
yes, it is, but we're also going almost full 10 major theatrical releases because sparse in terms of how much money things are making, especially in
Yes.
their opening weekends, yes, but not in terms of how many movies we saw because, I mean, the amount of movies we saw in theaters this month rivals the best of them. Not in terms
Yeah.
of the quality. But in terms
No,
of the
no.
quantity.
No.
This was certainly a quantity over quality month, Tanner.
Yes, that's a weird thing is that there was a lot of movies this month.
Yeah.
But nearly none of them made money. And it's also interesting to compare that to looking ahead a little bit next month where there's
Sure.
like no movies
Yeah.
coming out.
Yeah.
And I think that's one person in particular is doing. But focusing on September, Equalizer 3 took the top spot for the biggest domestic opening of the month with $34.6 million.
Yeah. And I'm happy with that. I would much rather the Equalizer 3 make money than the Nun 2. But they were about neck and neck. So
close second.
Yeah.
Close second.
Very
32.6.
This actually might be the closest number 1 and number 2 we've ever had on this show.
Yeah,
because we're
within
so
$2
used to
million.
having the number 1 be whatever gigantic first number 1 box office movie of the month was. But we got pretty neck and neck here.
Yeah. Then Tucker, you said we watched a lot of things in movies. This one is obviously included in there. We both ran out to go see Paw Patrol: The Mighty Movie at $22.7 million. No, we did not see that one, sadly. Sorry to all you paw heads out there. But we did see its weekend release partner, the other half of Saw Patrol, that is Saw X, 18.3 at number 4, and then A Haunting in Venice at 14.2, coming in at number 5.
Yeah, good for you, Kenneth.
They did it. He did it. Rounding out the rest of that top 10 is The Creator, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, Expendables, Jawan, and The Blind. And yes, I know what you're thinking out there, folks. You keen-eyed movie logo heads. That is not actually the theatrical logo for the poster for The Blind. That's actually the Blind Side logo that I just cropped the word side off of. Because believe it or not, there's not a PNG for the movie The Blind out there, the true story of the Robertson family.
That's funny.
But it's close enough. It's very close, actually.
Well,
Yeah.
why not?
Why not?
I wouldn't have noticed because also, Tanner, I don't know what the Blind logo looks like.
Tucker, it's the true story of the Robertson family.
That's okay by me.
Okay, well, I'm good. That's good too. Tucker, let's look at what we thought would happen.
Yeah.
Shake out this month. So we had a different number 1. Oftentimes we have very similar predictions, same movies in there, and that's the case. But we had different number 1s this time. And Tucker,
It's
Tucker,
me.
I'm
It's me
gonna
all the way
shake
down.
your hand.
Boom.
I'm gonna shake your hand digitally.
How's it going?
Good. But as we said, very close between Equalizer 3 and The Nun. We both had that flip-flop for number 1 and 2.
Yep.
We both had a lot of faith in the creator. I had it at number 3. You had it at number 4. Ended up being number 6, falling out of that top 5, unfortunately. And then I had Saw X in there, and you didn't. That surprises me, Tucker.
Did I not?
No, you didn't.
What are you talking about?
Oh, you had it at number 3. I was looking at the
Tanner?
bottom rows. I
Tanner,
was looking at
you
the bottom
are
rows.
blind as a bat.
I might as well be a Robertson, Tucker, because I'm the blind or whatever. No, okay, yeah. You had more faith in Saw X than I did, but that's all right. That's okay. But we got the creator is the only one that's
Yeah.
misplaced here.
Yeah,
We underestimated Paw Patrol, I guess.
we just had a lot of faith. We had some faith in the creator, and we shouldn't
Yeah,
have. But
right.
also, yeah, it was probably our mistake, really, to not put Paw Patrol
Yeah,
in there. Like
yeah,
that, we could have seen that coming. That wasn't
yeah,
like completely off the beaten path.
yeah, yeah. And Tucker, we have a semi-new addition to
Yeah.
the backlot banter thing. You know, it's getting old
Thing.
hat now. Now that we've had it for a month or so now.
Yeah.
But we have the Rotten Tomato meter and the cinema score comparisons
Yeah.
on this slide. So, Tucker, where do you want to start?
Well, I think the most interesting thing here is that if you notice on the tomatometer,
Hmm.
basically all the all the major movies that came out this month are like grouped up there at
Yes.
like around 75 to 85, which is good. I mean,
Yeah.
God, we do have a spread going down if you want to look at Expendables 4, like really, really low, and My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 also very low. But
Yeah.
5 movies in basically the same range, all fresh to certified fresh. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. But the out of theater audiences didn't feel exactly the same about the strength of all of those films because
Sure.
the only films that got an A cinema score this time around were The Equalizer 3 and Paw Patrol, the Mighty Movie.
Mm-hmm.
Next down, you got Saw X coming out at a B plus, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3, and A Haunting in Venice at B, and then really surprising, The Creator at a B minus alongside. I don't know if Expendables 4 is too high and The Creator is too low.
Yes.
And then the lowest rated of the month is in cinema score is The Nun 2.
Yeah, but that just happens with horror movies. Like you just gotta teach yourself to expect that.
Yeah, I suppose so. Do any of these shock you, Tucker?
I think the biggest surprise here is Saw X at B plus. I mean,
Yeah,
Saw X did much better than I think anyone was expecting, critic wise.
yes,
As we will get to, but even the people coming out of the theaters agreed with that, which is awesome. I mean, I'd give it like an A. But,
yeah, me too, frankly.
But this is one you could easily see getting like a C or a C minus because it's
For sure,
it's so gross. What the fuck did you expect?
I'm glad we sacrificed The Nun 2 to the C plus tier.
That's fine
for
by
this.
me. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
but
Yeah, no,
reasonable
wide
month, nice
array.
spread.
A wide array of quality this month,
Yep.
I'd say.
Yep.
And the audience thinks so too. But Tucker, let's talk about what started the month off. What kicked us off in September. Looked to be a strong month from the outset with Equalizer 3.
No, this was definitely a strong opening. Absolutely.
Bringing in that 34.6 opening weekend and now having a grand total of nearly $160 million at the worldwide box office.
Which it will cross that, and
Yeah.
that would put it over doubling its budget. So great, good for you, Anton Fuqua and Denzel Washington.
People are still showing out for Robert McCall. The
That's
people
true.
love Robert McCall. But yeah, a big sort of silver crowned jewel, I guess, is that it had the second best Labor Day opening weekend ever after Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings in 2021.
Yeah, and what's exciting about those two movies having very solid openings, Shang-Chi obviously, as a Marvel movie, doing quite a bit better, but is that Labor Day weekend with these two is now a possible slot for another big movie. And I really like that we're slowly inching our way towards having bigger movies released in later
throughout the year.
August and September, because boy, those are some dead zones. I mean, you think about last year, it was really bad.
Especially now, hopefully that the studios have maybe learned a bit of a lesson into maybe not stack that June, July.
Yeah. I mean, you could have released quite a bit of what was too stacked in the summer, either earlier or later, and had it spread out a little bit. But the Equalizer 3 got to snag a really comfortable spot and make a really solid amount of change.
Yeah. What else do we have here? 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, like you said, quite well liked. This one.
Yeah.
7.1 on IMDb. It actually opened higher than the first film. You know, people are familiar with Denzel's game now. But it has performed worse long term. It's not completely immune from people not going out to theaters this month.
Yeah.
Had a big opening weekend, has made a solid chunk of change, but long term, people are just not seeing the movies like they
Yeah,
used
The
to.
Equalizer 1 at the moment, unadjusted for inflation, sits at almost 200 million worldwide.
Yeah,
So Equalizer 3 is a little bit behind that. Of course, again, that original one, unadjusted for inflation, so it's actually quite a bit ahead if you do
yeah,
adjust for inflation. But very consistent series. I mean, this year we've seen both increases and decreases with franchises.
yeah,
But this is just a nice, like, basically flat line, which is not
yes.
you don't usually want that, especially if you're in a hospital.
Hey,
But
especially yes,
but
but
that's
consistency.
okay. Consistency is good for a franchise like this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you even have some comparisons for the Equalizer 2 here, much better liked by
Yes,
critics than
yes.
the Equalizer 2. Even on IMDb has a higher score, same cinema score
Hmm.
there as well. And ended up just a little bit higher than this will probably end up at the box office.
Yeah, well, it's almost exactly tied with Equalizer 1. I said 200 million, but it's really 192 worldwide
Oh,
for the
sure.
first one. Again, unadjusted for inflation, Equalizer 2 also unadjusted for inflation. So
Yep.
it's literally a downward slide when you look at it numbers to numbers basis, but when you
Mhm.
adjust for inflation, it's a downward slide, but it's a very shallow
Yeah.
downward slide.
So I believe Tucker. We both watched this film
Yeah,
separately. I might add.
yeah,
You actually waited a couple weeks
I
to
did.
catch it. But it feels like kind of the last one,
It
kind of
does.
the
It
last
does.
hurrah. And
I don't
especially
know if this franchise can sustain a fourth film in a couple of years that opens to 30 million and
yeah,
ends up at 150 worldwide. Like that seems to be the track record they're going on. I would say
yeah.
go out with an okay sized bang.
Make your trilogy, make your
Yeah.
trilogy. But Tucker, would you like the idea that Antoine Fuqua is also open to making a prequel
Hmm.
with Michael B. Jordan or obviously John David Washington,
Yeah.
Denzel's son, in that title role as the Equalizer, Robert McCall?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I mean that. Hmm. I would say that would help reinvigorate the franchise, but I don't think that would do much in terms of box office because, frankly, people are going to see Denzel Washington. He's the best
yeah,
part of these movies. This is his franchise. He's really goddamn good in all the movies. And so if you put Michael B. Jordan or John David Washington, yeah, they're great actors and they're
hmm,
reasonably sized stars, but
yeah,
they're not Denzel Washington. And so I think that would kind of be like I hate to say it, but like a solo situation where it's like
yeah.
the character and the actor that we love not playing that character anymore.
Hmm.
People aren't going to turn out for that as much. So
Uh,
really, no matter what way you slice it,
mhm.
a fourth Equalizer film, whether that's a sequel or a prequel, I don't know if that's really in the cards financially,
Yeah. What's interesting
unless
though
they
is
make it for $50 million.
hey, I also have a tugging feeling that if they make it, it would be like a streaming thing for
Oh,
some
sure.
reason. Yeah.
There was an Equalizer show, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's a CBS has the Equalizer starring Queen Latifah, I
Yeah,
believe.
that sounds right.
Yeah. But anyway, what's interesting with the two names there, and we'll get to John David Washington and his star power in a
Hmm.
little bit when we talk about the creator. But
She's
like,
playing Robin McCall. What the fuck is? All right, I need to do some research on this
eh,
goddamn show later on.
so I think that interestingly, if you for consistency's sake and obviously to like make it a nice cool thing, you would obviously go John David Washington.
Yeah,
But for star power
yeah,
and box office draw, you'd go Michael B. Jordan.
absolutely you would. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And also, Denzel's 68. You know, a fourth one probably wouldn't go into production for another 2 years.
yeah,
And it's rough as it is
yeah,
seeing
yeah.
68-year-old
He
trying to shoot around that.
he was doing a lot of hiding in the shadows and
Yeah.
cutting around. Actually, he can't do his own stunts as much anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. But Tucker, the Equalizer 3 was very close to the Nun 2 in
Yeah,
terms of opening weekend, but in the long haul,
yeah.
Nun 2 has smoked it.
It has smoked. And the crazy thing about the Nun 2, because we talked about how crowded this box office month was, and we were going to see a movie, or if not multiple movies, every single week.
Yeah.
But Tanner,
Mhm.
The Nun 2 was number one at the box office for 3 weeks straight. I think Barbie and Mario are the only two other movies this year to have more than 2 weeks at the number one at the box office.
I believe you're right.
And
I believe
now
you're right.
The Nun 2, baby. Three movies
Among
of
great company.
equal caliber
Yeah,
and
yeah,
equal
yeah.
success. But Jesus, Tanner, this is a success. It's not as crazy as a success as The Nun was, which I don't know if you know is the highest grossing film in the Conjuring franchise, and it's not even
Yes.
fucking close.
Yeah.
But The Nun 2 is just another really solid high performer for the Conjuring franchise, especially on a less than $40 million budget.
Yeah, well, Tucker, you mentioned that the Nun is obviously a huge hit for the Conjuring universe. This is the best opening for a Conjuring universe film since 2018's The Nun.
Sure, that makes sense.
And obviously, the ones that outdid there would be like The Curse of La Llorona,
Yeah.
and Annabelle Comes Home, and Conjuring 3: The Devil Made Me Do It.
Yes.
So
We're not
not
exactly operating against the highest caliber competition there.
yeah, but also The Nun 2, I would say, is not exactly a high caliber film. Also,
No.
but for some reason, people fucking love The Nun, dude. What's
I
the
don't-
deal?
The truth of the matter is, Valak and Annabelle are really the only iconic elements of the Conjuring
Yeah.
franchise, and they know that, and they've leaned into it with the sequel to The Nun, which I guess we knew was happening for a long time. Like, I remember talking to you about this in like freshman year of college. That was
Yeah.
like almost 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And we were sitting there like, oh, they're making a Nun sequel. And that was 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
ago. But now it's out and it made a bunch of money, and
It made a shit ton
Tanner-
of money. $233 million. It has
Nun 3's
made
coming.
a profit on its production budget, not marketing alone, but like of $200 million.
Mhm.
Nun 3 is coming, Tucker. And Conjuring 4 is also coming.
Okay.
So that's the setup that we had in the post-credit scene, if you recall.
Oh!
The post-credit scene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga were there for like 1 second.
They were. We're looking forward to Conjuring Last Rites.
Oh, that's
I
right.
believe
That's what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, as you
Okay.
mentioned, Tucker, it stayed at the number one spot for 3 weeks, narrowly defeating the debuts of A Haunting in Venice and Expendables.
Yeah.
Both like $200,000 difference, I think, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Very narrow, very narrow.
I would much rather have A Haunting in Venice have popped up for 1 week and then had The Nun 2 beat Expendables in week 3. I think
Yeah.
that's the ideal scenario.
That's the best scenario. Yeah.
But hey, Branagh could not stand against the power of Valig.
I guess not. And maybe Tucker, I have to wonder because
Yeah.
its top international markets were Mexico, Brazil, and Indonesia.
Mhm.
Those were its top three. And a lot
Why
of times
are
when we're
those?
like,
I guess they're like more Christian.
but yeah,
Catholic.
very very heavily Catholic.
Yeah, yeah.
Is I think what the thing is there. So obviously there is the interest in seeing a Catholic
Yeah.
coded sort of horror film. So maybe The Exorcist Believer will be huge there too, Tucker. You never know.
It's actually very possible, Tanner.
Yeah. But it's just interesting to see those like nations like that pop up there when usually your top Mexico is always in like the top three, but usually like the UK is going to take one of those top spots as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And I think that was like number 4 now, so quite interesting.
Yeah, so I was just doing a little research because we didn't have this as like one of our facts on here. But Tanner,
Yep.
I believe this is the highest grossing horror movie of the year, and it's not even fucking close. I've gone
Yeah.
through Evil Dead Rise, 146.
Well, all you have to
Scream
do is
6,
look at
168.
Tucker, all you have to do is look at Insidious, because Insidious was the
Yes.
highest grossing.
Megan, 179. And Insidious Red Door, 188. And this is the only horror movie to crack and pass 200 million worldwide.
Holy moly!
I mean, it's not even fucking close.
No, it's really not. That's insane. Okay.
Holy shit.
The Nun 2. Tucker, we were talking about how 2023 is not a great year for horror film,
No,
and
it's
I think
not.
this encapsulates it a little
Yeah.
bit. So, Tucker, let's take a swing. Let's take a swing over to rom-com. Let's get out of France, Italy. Where are they in The Nun?
I don't fucking remember.
Let's go to Greece, Tucker.
Well, there's a character named Frenchie.
True, there is. Good pull on The Nun 2 there, Tucker. My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. Whew, okay. So it's made $35 million total so far on a budget of $5 million. Very modest budget on this thing.
Yeah.
So hey, you know what? Even
It
though
made a lot of money compared to its budget.
exactly,
This is a very profitable movie for Nir Vardalos.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, as mentioned with the Nun, it actually did not. Actually debuted in third place, I guess.
Yeah.
44% below My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2. So, I mean, diminishing returns for the Portocalos family.
Yes. Because I compared it. Usually, what I do is I compare whatever the new movie is to its most recent entry. But I
Yeah.
really wanted to emphasize why they made this movie.
Uh
And
huh.
that's because My Big Fat Greek Wedding in 2002 was not
20 years
only
ago.
like the third highest grossing movie of 2002 or something stupid like that. And it's not, it wasn't that. It was still in the top 10.
Yeah.
And well received across the board.
Mhm.
And again, on that same $5 million budget. So actually, a bigger budget when you
Yeah.
adjust it for inflation, which is interesting.
Mhm.
That usually doesn't happen. But on a $5 million budget, it made $368 million. It's one of the like highest returns on investment movies ever made. And
Tucker,
for what?
you could on that ROI, you could make 10 My Big Fat Greek Weddings.
No, you can make
More than that.
You can make like 50.
Yeah. And maybe they will, Tucker. Maybe they will.
But so I just wanted to compare that there because My
Yeah.
Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, coming out in 2016. Actually, I don't have the budget for that. Hold on one second.
Okay.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 budget. I just want to see.
Yeah.
$18 million. They decided
Wow,
to make
okay.
that for a lot more money.
Wow.
But then it still made $90 million worldwide. And so
Sure.
comfortable success, but nowhere near the success of the first one. And so
No.
they're just thinking, why don't we give it another shot? Like,
One more
what's
time.
the worst that can happen? And the worst that can happen is this is not a very good movie. 31% on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 3 in its own opening weekend. Reasonable but pretty low cinema score. Bad IMDb. But they made money on this movie. This is
Yeah, they
7
did.
times its production budget.
And hey, this is just an argument for making small budget films.
Yeah.
You're gonna make your money back at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, speaking of, why studios should put $5 million into this, because it's like no money for their budgets.
Hold on. I'm
Well, okay.
I'm
What's going on
receiving information. I think you might have accidentally put the budget of the first movie.
I didn't put the budget in here.
Oh, well then I might have done that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a confirmed budget.
Oh, okay.
Hold on.
Hold on.
Beep, 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 beep. So, yeah, because the second one cost $18 million. It
Yeah,
doesn't
there's
make
no
sense to
way.
third this. Okay, hold on. Regardless, there's no way it costs more than $20 million or something like that. So it's
Yeah,
still
It's still
probably
making money.
made money.
Probably still making money.
Somewhat.
Probably.
Or at least it wasn't a huge loss.
Yeah.
But we have to retract a lot of what we said earlier.
Oh,
Taylor,
sure.
Because
Well, hey,
I
Tucker,
don't think this
will
is a $5 million budget.
I will still double down on this and say why they should have, why studios should like put these small budget movies into production here.
Yes, of course.
And because you will make
$20
money
million
on it.
still a small budget, Tanner.
Exactly. But they didn't, because this entered production as an independent film, and for that reason couldn't afford COVID-19 production insurance even. So yeah, I mean, just give it some studio backing.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Hey, Tom Hanks was a producer.
It's true. He was.
How much money
You
did Tom Hanks give to
think
this
this is
movie?
where he got COVID? Visiting the set?
I don't know if that lines up, but maybe.
Because he was like patient zero back in 2020 or
Yeah, I
whatever.
remember that. I remember where I was when I found out
Yeah.
Tom Hanks and his wife had. Wait, no, weren't they in like Australia?
I don't know.
Who the fuck knows?
Opening weekend demographics just quickly: 71% female, 55% white, 26% Hispanic. Again,
Yeah.
it's quite a bit of a larger share of female audience
Yeah,
goers than
definitely.
you typically get in a opening weekend
But-
for another movie.
Yeah, you also might want to look at one extra thing here before we move on, which is
Yeah.
this movie was saved by the domestic box office. People do
Oh, yeah.
not give a shit about this across the pond, across any pond.
No.
26 million domestic versus 8.5 international. That's a crazy, crazy split.
Yeah. You don't think they're big fans of this one in Greece?
I guess. I mean, I doubt it made any money there. I wonder if I can find out the information.
I suppose it probably doesn't maybe have a lot of appeal for people in Greece, because it's very much like Greek immigrants and stuff, and immigrant life and
Yeah,
stuff
maybe
like
they
that.
find that a little
And
bit annoying.
my crazy Greek parents,
From what I can tell, Tanner,
Yeah.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3
Yeah.
has made $213,000 in Greece,
Ooh, that's not a
according to
lot.
Box Office Mojo.
That's not a lot.
No, that's really bad.
Yeah. Okay. Tucker, I would even go so far as to say that that's some dumb money
That
that it
is some
made.
dumb money.
Yeah. And speaking of dumb money, and by that
Hmm.
we mean no money,
Yeah.
dumb money has made some dumb money, hasn't
Yes,
it?
it has.
I was shocked and appalled when pulling the numbers for dumb money, Tucker. Shocked and appalled.
Yeah.
9.5, $9.6 million total.
We got to give dumb money credit where credit's due, Tanner.
Yeah, 9.6. We'll round up for you. We'll round up. It's staggeringly low.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Right?
So
Yeah.
the interesting thing is, the release strategy for this movie is not the worst idea in the world. This is how movies used to open, which is opening in a couple of theaters in the major metropolitan areas, LA, New York, opening a little bit wider, let word of mouth spread, let the buzz
Yep.
spread, and then when it goes into full wide release, everyone is aware of it, and suddenly it is able to be to reach the mass market.
Yeah.
But no one cared. There was no buzz. So the fact that Dumb Money started small and then went wider and wider and wider until, I mean, I think it went to wide release, or did it ever hit 1,000 theaters?
Yeah, it is currently Tucker, on September 29th is when it hit its wide release.
Okay. Oh, wow.
2,800 theaters.
Yeah.
It started in
2 weeks after.
it debuted officially on September 15th
Mhm.
in 8 venues, 8 theaters. And there it made $27,000 per theater. Week after that, it went wider to 616, making about $2.4 million total, which is quite a bit less per,
Yes,
only
yes.
$4,000 per theater.
That's so much less.
And then, hit wide on September 29th, drawing in, as you see, for its opening weekend, which is what we counted as its opening
Yeah.
weekend, $3.3 million.
That's just silly.
Yeah. And as such, no cinema score for this.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did this, though. Like, why did they do this
Yeah, well,
release strategy?
Again, it's because it used to work for movies. But
Sure.
the honest truth of the matter is it doesn't happen like that anymore unless your movie is really, really, really fantastic. Everything Everyone Once did the
Yep.
same thing last year and then opened wider and wider and then stuck around and made a bunch of money relative to its budget, and its A24 is like highest grossing movie. But
Yeah.
Dumb Money is a big studio movie. It has a full $30 million budget. It's got a star-studded cast. They just needed to dump it out and give it a push. I think the problem was it came out and people were mixed on it, and that just killed any potential momentum it could have had, rather than people not knowing how good it was and then it just coming out on one day for everyone, and then everyone seeing it and then leaving it to be. I honestly think that if it had opened wide immediately, it probably would have made about this much its opening weekend.
Yeah. I mean, Tucker, you say that people are mixed on it, but looking at the Rotten Tomatoes, it doesn't seem that way. 85% from critics, 86% from audiences. Like,
okay, never
people
mind.
like this movie. The people who saw it like it.
Yeah.
I just don't think it has, like, the wide appeal that they thought it would, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because, and this is something that I noted here because I am kind of fascinated by this movie and how quickly it went into production and how, like, fast it still tried to, like, kind of capture the interest in that, like, Reddit stock squeeze and stuff like that, and how the world just moves too fast now.
Yeah. Yep.
You can't capture that immediately. You either have to wait for, like, people to, I don't know, for it to be like a historical moment, or just not make the movie.
Yeah.
Because, as noted here, and this is something I think I brought up when we talked about the film itself, MGM purchased the book rights, The Antisocial Network, in January of 2021. From what I counted, the news story broke on January 31st, 2021. That is 3 days after the short squeeze peaked.
Man.
3 days, Tucker, until they were like, we gotta make a movie out of this. We gotta.
That's crazy.
And the guy who wrote the book, and excuse me, I don't have his name off the top of my head,
That's fine, we'll be okay.
Ben Mesrich. Ben Mesrich, he hadn't started writing the book because the thing wasn't over yet.
Yeah.
He just like, I have an idea to write a book about this, and like, we'll buy it. We'll buy it. And actually, MGM dropped out of the project in September of last
That's
year.
crazy.
Actually, a month before filming was set to begin in October of last year. And it was that ball was picked up by Sony,
Hmm.
and they picked it up for 20 million.
That's crazy. So technically, Sony spent $50 million on this movie.
Yes, I believe so.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh well. And this has no awards potential. So
No,
it's
no.
DOA, buddy.
It is really DOA.
Yep.
It's just like
Dumb on
follow.
arrival.
Yeah, dumb on arrival. It's really fascinating that this is like it shaping up to be like the movie about the thing that was happening,
Yeah.
and then how immediately that just like fell to shambles as
Sure.
like, oh, no one really cares
No,
anymore.
absolutely they
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, and
The
they
only
that
reason we were interested in seeing this movie is not only because we remember that
yeah
happening, but also we remember them announcing they were going to make a movie about it, and so we've been
yeah
following this. It's in its production history. It's like, well, okay, we're going to see it when it comes out,
yeah
and no one else is following the fucking production history of Dumb Money like we were.
yeah yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's very much reflected in the numbers how no one
No,
cares.
no.
Yeah. Hey Tucker, do you want to talk
Hey,
about Jawan?
oh, let's do it.
Oh, okay. No, Tucker, at the beginning of the video, I made the promise, a BLB promise, that we'd be
Official
talking
BLB
about,
promise.
official BLB promise, that we'd be talking about box office results from the United States and the world over. And Tucker, this is me fulfilling that promise. Jawan, a film that you and I watched in theaters
Yeah,
here in the States,
mm-hmm.
Tucker, because they put it out here.
They did.
We get quite a few Indian films as of late. Actually, it's
Yeah.
pretty exciting. It's pretty interesting. And Jawan is one to get because it is the fourth highest grossing film in India and
Jeez.
had the fourth biggest opening weekend
Oh my
in
god.
India as
Now,
well.
now here's the crazy thing.
Yeah,
The box office for other countries is largely a mystery to us. We are
Yeah.
just now starting, you and me, just starting to get our toes dipped into what movies and stars are making money in other countries, what is super popular. Of course, you can draw some trends like, yeah, okay, the big Star Wars and the Marvel movies are make a good amount of money in other countries, but
yeah,
we're so used to seeing fourth highest grossing movie in its franchise, fourth highest grossing movie of the year. Tanner, we're looking here at the fourth highest grossing movie of all time in
Yes.
India, in a whole
Yes.
country, one of the biggest, most populated countries on the planet.
Tucker, you've done a fair bit of Indian film research. So Tucker, I want to see if you can take a stab, get maybe even one of the three films
Oh,
that are above
Christ.
this. Yeah.
Have I seen any of them?
Yes.
Okay. Is Patan one of them?
Pathan is number 5.
Oh, that's real close though. That's real
Yeah,
close.
yeah.
Okay. So then one of them's got to be RRR, right?
RRR is number 3,
Yeah.
and number 1 you definitely heard of, and number 2 you might have heard of. Number 2 is KGF Chapter
Okay.
2,
Okay.
and number 1 is Bahubali 2.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's
Yes.
another Rajamouli movie.
Exactly. So yeah, there's where it stands largely. It has made a whopping total of 1 second. In India, it has made the equivalent of 79.8 million US dollars.
Yeah.
And in the United States, it grossed 14.7 so far.
Yeah, it's just interesting to look at how much money things make in comparison to other countries, which again we're not as well versed in. We're just now starting our journey into learning about that. But the fact that a movie can make $79 million in its own country and be the fourth highest ever shows that there's a very big discrepancy between how much money movies are making here versus
Absolutely.
worldwide. And but the cool thing is that a movie like Jawan with a $136 million total, which is nothing to sneeze at, especially on a budget of $38 million. It's a very successful movie especially for India. A solid chunk of that, over 10%, comes from the U.S. market, with the domestic market. And we gave our money to that. And
True.
Tickets to Indian movies here cost a lot of money. They're like $20+ to get a ticket.
Yeah.
But hey, it's an event for us. We got to see SRK on the big screen again. And it was a lot of fun. I was very, very glad we got to see it.
Yeah.
But I just like that, kind of for the first time here on the show, we're able to show like, hey, big blockbuster movies making a buttload of money elsewhere.
Yeah. I mean, this was number 4 in the U.S. in its debut weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it cracked that top 5 for a weekend. 90% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's
is really, really
really
high.
crazy, yeah.
And Tucker, you mentioned seeing SRK on the big screen again. In the U.S., it is still lagging a bit behind Patan.
Sure.
Patan is at 17 million in the U.S., and this is, as you see, at
Yeah.
14.7 there.
But Tanner, I wanted you to think about that. Oh, it's lagging a little bit behind Patan. But Shah Rukh Khan just put out two of the highest grossing movies of his home country's entire history in one
Absolutely, yeah.
year.
In
And
one
we
year, the
saw them
same year.
both.
Yeah. It's really cool. It's the highest grossing Indian film of 2023. And it just I tried looking up some facts about this, some like records it's in. There's too many. It's basically just like it set a record for making this much money in this many days, and this much money
Yeah.
in this many days,
Yeah.
and this much money in this many
And
days.
Indian cinema also just has a much. There's a lot more records it can break because they also like to break things down based on which market, Indian market that it came
Yes,
from.
yes.
I can't off the top of my head remember which national cinema Jawan
I
came
believe
from.
this is was originally Hindi language,
Okay.
but also it broke records for having the Tamil dubs and stuff
Sure,
like that
yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so they do that for the stars and the directors and the languages and in which area of India it made a ton of money. So it's kind of fun to look at Indian movies where they just have insane stats like that for like basically every big movie.
Exactly.
But yeah, we will be keeping an eye out for other big Indian movies releasing here. Of course, we've reviewed a number of them, a small number, but a number over the course of the last year. But expect more of these in the future, and as we go forward, we'll be able to more directly compare. Oh yeah,
Yes.
we've seen this. We know how much money this made, but this is our first toe dipped into that.
Absolutely. Hunting in Venice, Tucker.
Yeah.
Open this. This was the wide release. Got beat by The Nun 2, as discussed already,
did.
but is doing. You know what? We both really liked this one, and
did.
we were kind of hoping that it would do well, so they could make more of these because it is like seems to be on the upswing for the Poirot films here.
Definitely, especially compared
And
to Death Metal.
It's making some money. It's
Yeah, I mean, it is almost at $100 million worldwide. I don't think it's going to
Don't know if
cross
it'll hit
that.
it?
No, I
Yeah.
don't think it'll cross that. But it's interesting to note that even in a more depressed box office season at the beginning of last year, Death on the Nile still made 137 worldwide. But that movie also cost way fucking more. Jesus
A lot.
Christ.
Yeah.
$90 million. I guess that was a lot of reshoots
Yep.
and changing of cast and stuff like that.
COVID shooting, stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. It's kind of sad how similar this film is doing, and in some cases worse
Yeah.
than Death on the Nile. It
Mhm.
only opened 12% higher than Death on the Nile, which you're kind of hoping for a lot more.
Yeah.
Over a year and a half later, out of the pandemic, when this one was sort of like at the tail end of it, I guess.
Mhm.
And yeah, obviously it's still a far cry from the success of Murder on the Orient Express.
Yep.
But I also wanted to note the opening weekend demographics here, Tucker. 82% were aged over 25.
And now you see why this movie only opened to less than $15 million. Is because, frankly, the majority of big box office success is marketed at younger people, whether that is animated movies or larger blockbusters, which are more family-oriented or all ages-oriented. I can understand why people younger than 25 aren't jonesing to go see a fucking Poirot movie. But they gotta have expected that, right? Like,
I think they were honestly, Tucker. Part of me thinks that like maybe that's why the trailers were so horror oriented, trying to get that younger market in the door, trick them a little bit.
Yeah, but and it's interesting to note that we were talking a little bit about this maybe being a good place to put other movies so you can spread things out. But this was a crowded month, and especially for horror, coming off of The Nun 2 and straight into Saw X and Exorcist Believer, Haunting in Venice is the least recognizable and least marketable one out of all of those movies. So even if they did try to grab some extra butts and seats because they were marketing it as a horror movie, which, as we noted in our review, is kind of false advertising. It's not really a horror movie. It didn't work because, frankly, everyone was going to see The Nun too.
Yeah, yeah, honestly.
But it's interesting because this didn't open that far below week 2 of The Nun 2, but
Hmm.
still was below
Yeah.
week 2 of
Again,
Nun
like
2.
$200,000
Yeah,
difference, I
yeah.
think. And it opened in the second lowest, what ended up being the second lowest box office weekend of 2023. The grand total for that weekend being only $62 million.
Yeah.
Still, I guess more money than that. What was it? It was like Super Bowl weekend back in February,
That
where
was
we
the
had
lowest?
like, yeah, that's still the lowest with like 80 for Brady and
Knock the cabin.
Knock the Cabin. Magic Mike's Last Dance
Yeah.
was out at that point, I think. Yeah. So yeah, still there. Still not as bad, Tucker. Not as bad.
There's
But
got to be a lowest every year.
well, Tucker, I have a surprise for you. There was a new lowest the week
Oh,
after,
shit,
baby,
baby.
with Expendables. Yes, yes,
Yay.
indeed.
Everyone's clapping.
It
Woo.
debuted and marked the lowest grossing box office weekend of the year.
Not even $50
Yay!
million total.
Yeah,
By the way,
yeah.
that lowest grossing box office weekend, for those who aren't aware, means
Hmm.
that every movie released in the domestic market totaled up to less than $50 million.
Yeah.
And that is
Uh,
like, that's things in limited release. That's like, Barbie in a couple IMAX theaters.
yeah.
This is bad.
Yeah, well, yeah. This was actually the weekend where Barbie went back to IMAX
Yeah, yeah.
theaters and had some bonus content after credit stuff. I think, um, Expendables contributed $8 million to that 48.9,
Mm-hmm.
which means the Nun 2 probably contributed about 8 million as well.
Yes.
And as
In week
if those are your,
3.
if those are your top two, you can kind of see why how that total is so incredibly
Mm-hmm.
low. Yeah, Expendables fucking suck, Tucker, and we noted that in our
Yes.
review.
Our review, that's like maybe the worst movie we ever seen in theaters.
Yeah, and it seems the audience was not there for
No.
Expendables.
No.
This franchise has had diminishing returns, and for whatever reason, they decided one more round, baby. How bad can
Yeah.
it possibly
Yeah.
be?
I mean, we were not fans of Expendables 2, and Expendables 3 isn't very good either.
Yeah.
But the fact that that all three of those movies, actually quite similarly to what we were talking about with Equalizer, are just like, or were,
Hmm.
very consistent box office performers. I think probably a downward slope when you really look at it and you adjust for
Yeah.
inflation. You can understand why they would make another one of these, but when you really factor in what was the draw of those movies, this movie doesn't meet the why. Because as we noted in our review, and really what kills this movie, not only is it look horrible, it's edited horrible, and yada
Hmm.
yada yada. It's a movie where you're supposed to go in seeing like big action stars working together, but our couple of our biggest action stars are like not in a lot of the movie, and the rest is just like people you've never heard of or don't care
Yeah, yeah,
about.
yeah. Yeah, the previous installment, Expendables 3, still, every previous installment, I guess, 1, 2, and 3, grossed over $200 million
Yeah,
globally. This film is at about $25 million globally.
that is, I mean that's kind of one of the steepest drop offs from
Yeah,
sequel to sequel like ever.
yeah. Yeah, it had
Maybe
a 60...
maybe Exorcist to Exorcist 2 is up there as well.
True. It fell to number
Oh
9
my
in its
fucking
second
god!
week. From number
And it's
2
got to
to
be already
number
out of the top
9.
10.
Oh, for sure, 100% it
Yeah.
is. A 69% drop,
Well,
that
especially because
was.
the next week we had 3 major releases.
Of
So
course, yes. And yeah,
God.
talking about the production of this, I read a little bit about it. It's frankly not that interesting. It's just like they were like, well, Expendables 3 didn't do very well. Should we make a fourth one? And then Sylvester Stallone was like, well, we're gonna make a fourth one. I'm gonna do it, and it's gonna be rated R this time too, because Expendables 3 was famously rated PG-13.
Famously, everyone's talking about it still to this
Yeah,
day.
exactly, exactly. But it's mostly just like a lot of like people they wanted to get and didn't ultimately
Yep.
get.
Yep.
Stallone actually ended up leaving the project
Yes.
in like late 2016 and then rejoined
Tanner,
it 4 months later.
read that number again. In 2016,
Yeah,
this movie started its production.
yeah.
That's a
Well,
long.
started its production.
It started its pre-production.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a long fucking time ago.
Yeah.
That's an insanely long time ago.
But thank God, Tucker, he came back in 2017, and it only took another 6 years for the movie to come out.
Holy shit. Yep. God.
Bad, bad,
But you know what?
bad stuff.
Perfect movie to be the new wide release of
Yeah.
the lowest opening or lowest grossing box office weekend of the year.
Yep.
Perfect movie.
Perfect
Couldn't have
movie.
happened to a worse movie.
I agree. I agree, Tucker. Okay.
Oh,
Let's start spirits
I
a
just,
little
hold
bit.
on. I
Okay.
just want to point out one more thing.
What's it? What's that? What's that, Tucker?
Then read that budget out loud for me, and then
Sure.
cringe very
Oh,
loudly.
sure. Oh, yeah, sure. I guess we haven't been noting the budgets of a lot of these because they aren't as exorbitant as months past. But this one is $100 million for Expendables, Tucker. Again, I just want to quickly harken back to that total domestic, about 25 return on this.
No, that's not domestic. That's total.
Yeah, oh, sorry, yeah, total,
Yeah, total.
worldwide. Dropped about $75 million
Oh God.
for production. Figure 150 million dollars in the hole on this thing.
Oh God, yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I think that'll teach him, Tucker.
Yes.
I hope that'll teach him.
This franchise is so dead. This is the
Yeah,
deadest franchise I've ever seen in my entire life.
All right, Tucker. Now let's lift our spirits a little bit. Let's talk about Saw.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Saw X.
Sigh of relief. Movie making money.
82%. A big surprise was biggest surprise.
Fresh.
Certified fresh Saw movie. The highest rated critically acclaimed Saw film by more than 30% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Doug, you want to take a gander at one number? Guess at what number 2 is?
Oh. Is it randomly like 2?
No, it's your first instinct.
It's Saw.
It's just the first one.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's good. But
Yeah.
still, that means that movie's in the 50s.
Yeah, that movie is sitting at 50% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. But hey, on a $13 million budget, movie made $18 million opening weekend. The only film here from memory. Actually, did Expendables 3 make its budget back opening weekend? It definitely did.
No, it was about
No.
8% of its budget.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was about half. About half.
8%, Tanner.
What?
You said
no, the budget.
Expendables.
Oh, sorry. Fuck. I meant Equalizer.
Oh.
Different E movie.
No, yes.
Equalizer
No.
made about a little under half of its budget back
Yes.
opening weekend.
Not even
Yeah.
close.
Only one here to make it to budget back
Yes,
opening weekend.
true.
Congratulations.
I
for
mean,
us.
that is amazing. That's the best case scenario.
Those fine folks over there at Twisted Pictures.
Good job, Lionsgate.
Yeah. Again, B cinema score too low on this one, but hey, it's a Saw movie, I guess. What are you gonna do?
But it also was like the third highest cinema score of the month. So
Yeah, true. That's a good point too. This is actually the I sort of delineated between classic Saw and modern Saw.
sure.
Being that like post Saw 3D, kind of like the last one of that run.
Definitely.
It's the best opening for a modern Saw film, which means it opened above Jigsaw and Spiral. Thank you.
Parentheses from the Book of Saw.
Exactly. Not hard to open above Spiral. As that was like a May 2021. That was like just as theaters were getting back, getting back on their feet. But yeah,
Spiral opened to not even 9 million.
Yeah, exactly. So
It
not hard
opened to
beat.
about what Expendables 4 did.
Yeah. So yeah, it doubled that though.
Yes.
It doubled
Yes.
that, which is good. I'm just really happy that this film has seen the success. It's not a runaway smash success, but like it's just very solid.
Yeah, I was hoping for this movie to bring Saw back to its former glory. It hasn't been around long enough for us to see if this has the legs or the buzz that's going to keep it around. But at the moment, it's already a successful movie. Like, it's making Lionsgate and Twisted Pictures money, and that that's fine. That means the series still has enough life in it. But I think really the best thing for this movie is that it was made for $13 million. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's the smallest budget on here by a fucking country mile.
Oh yeah.
And when you have a budget that low, especially for horror, which opens reasonably big, you're smooth sailing there.
Yeah, 100%. still, Tucker, and I hate to bring down the mood, but it did technically open lower, unadjusted for inflation, opened lower than the original film from
Yeah,
2004.
yeah.
Without the brand recognition, without the multiple movies under its belt, without, being on streaming and being, a somewhat beloved torture porn kind of series that
Hmm.
people are interested in at least, open to basically the same number as the original Saw
Actually, yeah,
for.
18,276,000, and
Yeah.
this was no wait. I think it's just above.
Is it just above?
Yes,
Okay.
but basically the same, and
Yeah.
adjusted for inflation,
Yeah,
way
yeah, yeah.
below.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
way below. And I have to shout out the marketing campaign because this is actually one of the few films that I saw consistently marketed in various formats,
Hmm.
not just like YouTube ads or
Yeah,
theaters or trailers in theaters, which really don't count. I feel
yeah, that's
you
default.
gotta you gotta go out and go to people, and this film did go to people. Lots of TikTok, lots of like viral marketing stunts with Billy the Puppet. I
Yeah.
enjoyed
Oh my
seeing
god.
that.
Yeah, I was watching like I saw like a news thing, and Billy the
Yeah.
Puppet like rode by in the background of someone like on the road.
The AMC Nicole Kidman AMC parody
Yeah, yeah.
was a big thing before it got like copyright struck, I think, or
Mm.
something like that by AMC actually. So
Thank you,
I
Twisted
don't know.
Pictures.
Yeah.
Having fun with it. Horror movies, having fun with their marketing. Smile,
Yes.
Megan, Saw X. What a
Yeah.
lineage.
Yeah. I even like seeing the Twitter takeovers and the
Yeah, yeah,
trolling on Twitter that Billy the Puppet would do from the
yeah,
Saw account. Just fun stuff.
yeah.
I think he's dating Megan canonically in canon. In the
What?
canon of
Huh?
Saw Twitter,
Oh,
Billy the
oh,
Puppet
sure.
is, yes, he's dating Megan right now.
Interesting.
Yeah, those celebrity couples though, they never last.
That's a great point. That's a great
Yeah.
point.
Tucker, what do you have here? A little Easter egg here after Saw.
Yeah, I wanted to go over cinematic history
Uh-huh.
and see why the Saw franchise keeps getting made, even with something like Spiral not being a movie that people particularly cared about.
No.
And so I have here the budgets and the total box office grosses of all of these movies, and the reason it's hard to tell how much these movies cost to make is because they never cost much to make. Saw
Yeah.
3D and Spiral being the highest budgeted ones, and if we look back at our one for Spiral here, the budget was $20 million on that.
Yeah.
So always lower budgeted to micro budgeted,
Mm-hmm.
and almost every single one's made more than $50 million, but almost every single one has made more than $100 million.
It's just really fun.
Wait,
just really good.
I
and
fucked up
interesting to see
somewhere.
that. Oh.
Spiral's at like $40 million worldwide. That is wrong.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I've really fucked up there.
Yeah. You have it at like 125.
How the fuck did I do that?
I don't know.
Did I make mistakes elsewhere? What the fuck? What the fuck happened? I thought I did pretty good on this.
Don't know.
No, okay.
Don't know.
Jigsaw did make more than $100 million. Okay, whatever. I fucked up with Spiral, but I
Uh-huh.
think all the rest of them are accurate.
Just like cut that Spiral number in your head. Just cut that about in half.
Yes.
Just cut that in half.
Yes,
and
like a
then you'll
third
be good.
actually.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like good to see that this has been consistent over the franchise.
Yeah.
Because like ultimately, you think about it, a lot of it is just like small dark rooms.
Mhm. Yeah.
So hey,
And unknown actors.
this is not a lesson. This is not a lesson. This is not a PSA to studios to make more movies in small dark rooms. By the way, only do it if you can make them cool and rad and awesome like Saw.
Yes.
But yeah, Tucker, thank you for putting this together.
Yeah.
Saw 3.
Hey,
highest
I
grossing
got
now.
like 90% of that data correct,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's what I'm aiming for.
Tucker, does Saw 3 deserve to be the highest grossing Saw film? You think what deserves to be the highest grossing Saw film?
I mean,
What should people have gone out to see and supported with their dollars?
Saw X.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's
Good
not
point.
going to. It's
No.
not even going to be close. I mean, I would be shocked if this movie crossed $100 million worldwide. But it doesn't need to. It's already profitable. But, oh well. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Big day, September 29th. We had Saw X, we had Saw Patrol, but we also had a little thing known as The Creator, Tucker.
Yeah, we did.
Um,
It is a little thing, isn't it? Just a
It
cute
is a
little
movie shockingly
with a
little
tiny,
thing.
tiny little worldwide gross. Aha.
yeah, yeah. So, on a budget of $80 million, this movie has so far made not even 40. It's made
Yeah.
about $36 million.
Bearing in mind we are just we're just wrapping up its second weekend at the
Yeah,
moment.
exactly. We are
Or
quite
no, we're
literally
just starting. We're starting its
yeah,
second weekend.
we are 7 days from the release of the
Yeah, yeah.
creator. So, it's got a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes, B plus cinema score, as mentioned earlier. Domestic opening of $14 million. Didn't crack the top five, and frankly, really needed to.
It
I think this movie
absolutely did.
needed to make a splash. I mean, everyone's talking about how crazy that budget is for what this film looks like and what
Yeah,
it is as like a
absolutely.
sci-fi epic,
That's
and that should be applauded. And I do have some research about this because I do find it fascinating. But it needed to be bigger than it is.
hmm yeah,
Absolutely needed to be.
yeah. So I had an interesting experience thinking about this movie over the course of the last couple months, watching
Uh-huh.
that trailer and being interested in it myself, but trying to gauge what this movie was going to do when it released in terms of its gross and its impact. And I was talking to Abram in like like early September.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, yes, member of the show actually.
Member of the show.
And I told him that the creator's not going to make any money. He's like, what? No, I think it's going to be a big success, which obviously was very wrong about that. But I said, the creator's opening against Saw and Paw Patrol. It has no fucking shot. And I said, that's a $30 million opening weekend if I've ever seen one.
Uh-huh.
Tanner,
Try
it
half
didn't even
that,
make
Tucker.
it didn't even make half of that.
Try half that.
Which is really because I was intentionally undershooting that because you'd think
Yeah.
big budget movie, sci-fi, kind of an epic scale from the guy that did Rogue One and Godzilla, which are both successful movies. You'd think that there's an appetite for this, and on its best leg, this movie in terms of its content could be a $70 million opening weekend. I mean, if it was really really good and people cared a lot, it could be 100. But no, there's no legs near this movie. And actually,
No.
John David Washington only has one leg in the movie.
Does he?
Yeah, he's missing an arm and a leg. Remember?
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's a fantastic point. You talk about your prediction for it. I actually didn't say this in the video at all yet, but famously I give my opening weekend predictions
Oh,
for my
okay.
top five.
Ooh,
I
what
didn't
did you
recap
put?
those. I said 25 for the creator.
Okay, that's pretty close to what I was thinking about. 30.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we were
So-
both undershooting it then,
Yeah, exactly.
but then the
So,
reality is half of that.
I want to talk about the production of the creator a little
Sure.
because we've been lamenting about how massively budgeted the big movies of the year are.
Yeah.
And this movie looks better than basically every blockbuster
absolutely.
that's released this year.
Absolutely. Think about Dial of Destiny. Think about Quantumania.
Yeah. The only one that stuck out to my mind is which is why I said nearly every was John Chapter 4.
Oh,
John
sure.
Wick Chapter 4
Yeah.
looks great.
And Mission Impossible also looks really good.
Exactly.
That,
Yeah.
that movie also costed fucking assload. Jesus.
And the movie cost $80 million.
Yeah.
At some point, like a third of what those movies we just listed cost.
Yeah, like Fast X, which also looks
Exactly.
terrible.
Yeah, yeah. And
$20
it's
million less than Expendables 4. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that's out there.
it's important that we like kind of try to drive this lesson into studios' heads because the current trend they are on is not sustainable at
It's
all.
disastrous.
It's disastrous. And the creator is like exactly what they should be doing. And let me tell you what Gareth Evans did here, Tucker. Or Edwards.
Yes,
Gareth Edwards?
Edwards.
Okay, sorry, excuse me. I get the two confused quite often.
Yes, yeah. It's very easy to.
Gareth Edwards. So he comes from a VFX background, and then you sort of transition to be the director that we know him as now from Godzilla and Rogue One, and now the creator. And so he opened up about how like he went about shooting the creator, and I find it very interesting. So first of all, it should be noted that he used a $4,000 camera for this, which
Wow.
in the grand scheme of thing, yeah, very cheap.
Yeah, very cheap.
Equipment wise. And he also, he's very technically minded guy. We in our review we talked about how the creator is very technically proficient, very technically proficient created film. And he mentioned like, yeah, with these new cameras, like the lighting can be super cheap. You can basically just have like a light rig on a stick and change the ISO on a camera and like make your movie look like this movie looks. You don't have to have the giant crane setups that
Yeah, of
take
course.
hours and hours to move and extend the shooting days and everything like that. And he used he used that to his advantage by he talked about how they did basically everything on location here.
Wow,
They
wow.
just they were just kind of like running and gunning around to different locations in Southeast Asia to shoot this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the big compound that they break into at the beginning was like an old particle accelerator in Thailand or
Oh,
something like
wow.
that.
Ooh.
Yeah. So he's like, you go to the locations, you set up a quick shoot with like your cheap camera and your like cheap lighting setup because technology is crazy advanced now, and you don't have to do like giant green screen volume setups
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in like Los Angeles or Atlanta or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is above my pay grade as well, but he's like, you just kind of do like 2D rendering on everything
Mm-hmm.
to like sharpen it up and make it look more technological and futury. And he's like, and that's in the grand scheme of VFX, very, very, very cheap to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, it's not something that you can do with every film, but
Yeah.
it's something that you could do with a lot of
Yeah,
films.
well, what's interesting about the where you're talking about the money going for the production of this
Yeah,
movie is that they saved a lot of money on the actual shooting, which is where a lot of that budget goes. And you can easily see that most of this 80 million probably still went to VFX. Because there's a lot of
yeah,
VFX in this movie.
of course.
People's parts of their fucking heads are missing.
Yeah,
Parts of bodies are missing. There's fucking spaceships. We're up in space. There's all sorts of weird buildings in the background and stuff like that.
hmm
Uh, they probably used most of this budget to generate really interesting CGI
yeah,
backgrounds for basically every single shot. Um, but when you save the money elsewhere, it can mean that the movie can still be modestly budgeted, even with really impressive VFX.
yeah. I mean, and Tucker, just think about where the shots that people complain about in like modern MCU movies.
Mm,
They are always when someone is clearly on a green screen or in the volume. And
yeah,
that's what the
yeah.
creator completely got around by doing this on location, stripped down, like essentially guerrilla style
Hmm.
compared to those movies style of filming.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why can't we do that with like, I don't know, fucking Blade,
Sure.
fucking Captain America Brave New World?
Yeah.
Why can't we be doing that with these movies? But instead we have to like put people in giant rigs and swing them around a green screen room or
Mm,
whatever.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It just makes me think of like we could be doing it so much different and so much better
Yeah.
if especially if you hire people like Gareth Edwards who has a background in this stuff, who
Sure.
like knows how to like produce a film that looks like this, that feels like this for this low of a budget,
Yep.
instead of getting like somebody who's done an indie movie and then like a mid-budget movie that was well regarded by critics and audiences,
Hmm.
and then putting them on a $250 million movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just something I think about. Anyway, Tucker,
Yeah.
this is the biggest opening of John David Washington's career.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
That's not good.
We were talking about him being a star in terms of Equalizer 3, and I was like,
That's not true.
I was just thinking while I was collecting this, I was like, what if this John David Washington's famous for Tenet,
Yeah. Black
and he
Klansman.
also Black Klansman, and he also had Amsterdam last
Yeah.
year.
Uh,
Um, yeah,
Malcolm and Marie.
Malcolm and Marie was a Netflix movie.
I'm just saying that's what he's
Yeah,
famous
exactly.
for. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, but like the movies that he's had come out. Malcolm and Marie and Beckett were both Netflix movies. Tenet came out in the middle of the pandemic and opened to like $9 million.
Hmm.
Amsterdam came out last year and opened to $8 million.
And
And
around
then
this point of the year last year.
yeah, and I think Black Klansman opened to like 1 million because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's that kind of movie where it's not going to get a massive theatrical push. And then before that, he's like bit roles in like Robert Redford's The Old Man and the Gun. Um, unless Tucker, you want to count, I said starring role because he is technically in Malcolm X and Devil in a Blue
Oh,
Dress.
sure.
Yeah,
As a kid.
so as a kid,
Yeah.
uncredited roles. But yeah, of his professional acting career, biggest opening. So hey, congratulations, JDW.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
I hope this means good things for him. He's always good. And
Yeah,
in our
exactly.
minds, he's a bigger star than he is because we like Black Klansman and we like Tenet and
Hmm.
we've liked him in these movies. But we're also in the know in a way that no one else really is.
Yeah, yeah. 53% of this film's opening weekend came from those PLF screens.
Sure.
It very much marketed itself as something that needs to
Mm.
be seen on the biggest screen
Yeah,
possible.
but it also
And
didn't get everything. Didn't get all
exactly,
those screens because
yeah,
it opened against two other major theatrical movies.
yeah. While it didn't open the number one here, number one went to the movie we'll talk about next, Paw Patrol. It did open number one in a lot of overseas markets. A lot of them, I just picked three, like the U or four: UK, India, France, and
Yeah,
Thailand. But it
those are
opened
all
number
big
one
markets.
it opened number one in a lot of
Hmm.
international
Interesting.
markets. Yeah, Tucker,
Paw Patrol, my movie.
Paw Patrol, the mighty mighty movie, the
Yeah,
mighty movie that could take number one from the
it did.
creator and
Yeah,
Saw X, and it did.
and take number one from the Nun after 3 fucking
True,
weeks, Tanner.
dethroned the nun. These little puppies that could,
Yeah.
Tucker. These little super powered pups.
Now, there's really only one thing about this movie that interests me because
Yeah,
it's a you know based on a reasonably popular IP kids movie. This is
yeah,
not our thing. This is the only one of these major theatrical releases we didn't see.
right.
It's fine by me. Doesn't really bother me. Though, fuck, Tanner, it's a hole in my having seen every movie that's been number one at the box office for
I
the last
wasn't there
3
another
years.
hole from earlier in the year too. I think there's
No,
two.
last year was Dragon Ball Super Superhero, which I still not have seen. I haven't seen.
Sure.
But I might have to watch this movie at some point just for that. I
Yeah,
digress. But
slap it
the
on
only
two times
thing
speed. Who
that
gives a hell?
absolutely God.
Yeah,
The thing that really gets my goose about this movie is
yeah,
some fucking how they made this movie for $30 million.
yeah.
How did that happen?
Look, it's all pre-rendered assets. You know, they got
Oh,
the movie.
that might be true.
They got everything from the last movie. They
Yeah.
but Tucker, and this is something that I find massively interesting about this.
Hmm.
And I had to double check this on multiple sources. The last little trivia tick there, Tucker. The Paw Patrol franchise is valued at $14 billion.
What?
Paw Patrol is a $14 billion franchise.
Jesus. Like how much it's gross total?
Yeah, like what it's what it's valued as in terms of like physical and digital merchandise.
Hmm.
Because it's movies, it's video games, it's like I'm sure there's a TV show,
That's where it
but there's
started. It's a kids show.
exactly. That's true. Yeah, that's good. That's a good point, Tucker. I don't.
Even I know that.
I'm not the Paw Patrol head that you are. I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah, it's okay.
But also like toys, clothes, whatever the
Yeah,
hell.
yeah. This is. I'm sure this is popular for fucking lunchboxes and like
Yeah.
PJs.
And Tucker, $14 billion is double what Paramount is valued at on the Nasdaq.
Oh my fucking god.
Tucker, if God forbid Paw Patrol somehow became its own like singular company,
Yeah,
they could buy Paramount and only make Paw Patrol shit.
that's insane.
But yeah, apparently it's like shared between Paramount and another company, so that's like kind of how that works, I
Sure.
guess. Why Paramount isn't worth more than $14 billion because they own Paw Patrol, because
Mhm.
technically they don't. But I was blown away by that.
That is crazy.
So
And
Paw Patrol is is worth more than a lot of countries.
huh. Huh. Now you mentioned some
Uh,
marketing here. Do you want to go over that a little bit?
yeah, we talked about the marketing with Saw X, and it's just very interesting how this movie was marketed because it's like very child targeted. There was marketing campaigns with Burger King. They apparently held like a Guinness World Records holding event where they like got a bunch of dogs together, like most dogs in one place or something like that.
Okay.
It's like most dogs in one dog park. It was in LA or something
Sure.
like that. I don't know. Um Go Noodle? You like
No
Go
fucking
Noodle?
idea what that is.
I think that's like a kids like entertainment website or something like that. Noggin? You familiar with Noggin, Tucker?
No.
That's like Nick Jr., but like Nick Jr. Jr. Like
Nick Infant.
exactly. And Pop
Nick
Tropica Jr.
Zygote.
You know Pop Tropica, Tucker.
I'm familiar with Pop Jar. I never played it myself, but I'm
Yeah.
familiar. I didn't know there was a junior variety.
Apparently there was an entire Paw Patrol island
Of
on
course
Pop
there was.
Tropica
Of course
Jr.
it was.
Yeah.
I'm actually interested to see like what other movies this year had Pop Tropica tie-ins.
Yeah.
Well, look, this movie's making money. It was made for cheap and it's popular. So yeah, makes sense. I mean, it's not for us, but that's
84%
yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes. At least Saw X has a higher Rotten Tomatoes than this movie, Tucker.
No, it doesn't. It has an
Oh,
82, but it's certified fresh, whereas this is not, which means that it has
I see.
more positive reviews,
I
enough
see.
positive reviews to pass the
Not a lot of
certified fresh
critics
thing.
going out to see Paw Patrol the Mighty Movie?
Guess not.
Okay.
Now,
Let's
Tanner,
compare.
here's interesting.
Yep.
Here's something interesting. We last month, I instituted the month v month slide, and
Yeah.
last month it was interesting to see how comparable our Augusts were. They were very very close, within like 0.2 of each other. This time that's not the case. We had a couple of movies that we enjoyed. We really like Saw X. We like Haunting in Venice more than your average person. Creator was good, but then there were 3 really bad movies this month that we reviewed.
Expendables 4.
By the
Nun
way,
2,
if you're confused,
The Big
if you're a
Fat
really deep backlot banter head, yes, the creator has a score because we did review that movie, but something in the recording failed, so we weren't able to upload it. But we did do a score for the movie.
We did.
But then we also reviewed 6 movies last September: Barbarian, Smile, The Woman King, Pearl, Don't Look Up, Don't Worry, Darling, and Bros. And yeah. That's
How
a
much
lot better.
that
That's
month?
a lot better set of movies.
So
Jesus
much
Christ!
better. Oh my God. Like I don't even love Don't Worry, Darling. But
Tanner, there are 4 movies last month higher than our highest movie this month.
yeah. Wow. Wow.
Oh God.
Bad September.
Yep.
Bad September. But the interesting thing is, Tucker, and I'm looking at the time code on this recording. You had a lot to say about it, actually.
Yeah, we did. Well, there's just a lot of movies, and like
There was a lot
they're
of
still
movies.
interesting, even if like
Yeah.
Jesus, this was a weird fucking mostly bad month.
Yeah. Last time on Backlot Banter, let's check in and how August is doing.
Tanner, there's
Tucker.
one number here that I really want to draw your eye to.
Okay.
Because
well,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle after an extra month made $20 million more. Sure. Same with the Meg. Tanner, take a look at the last Voyages in a Meter.
oh,
The difference between its week 5 gross and its week 9 gross.
about 200,
About
200K?
200K.
Uh-huh.
I just thought that was funny.
Yeah,
I
that
just
is
thought it was
funny,
silly.
isn't it? Blue Beetle coming out to about 127.
Yeah, that's done in theaters.
Yeah, Strays made about another 5 million.
Another 5. And that's done in theaters. That movie's total gross.
Gran Turismo made another like 32-ish.
Yep.
So hey,
And that's about it. It's done too. So August balanced out to be a bumpy month because we've got pretty big successes in TMNT and Meg 2 and kind of Gran Turismo, but then we've got a like kind of wash with Blue Beetle and then 2 fucking abject failures with Last Voyage of the Meter and Strays. Thanks, August.
Thanks, August. It'll be interesting to see what happens to September movies next month.
What? Next year?
No, next month. When we do last time on Backlot Banter.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like, Tanner, it's not September anymore. What the fuck are you talking about? But yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Last time
Very
on.
good. No changes in the top 10.
If you can believe it, no new movies cracked into the top 10.
No
highest grossing
August
movies.
or September movies crawled their way into here.
Made more than $174 million, Tanner.
Yeah. How close is The Nun? What did that make domestically? How did I look? 78. Okay,
nowhere
never
close.
mind. Yeah.
Nowhere close.
If we were taking the international number, it'd be a
Yes.
lot closer. But anyway.
But also, then we'd have a lot more movies that made a lot more money than it.
Exactly. So, yeah, Tucker, you have anything to say here?
No.
We already talked about like what movies coming out in the next couple months have the potential to hit this list,
which is not many.
which is not many.
Especially
Well,
now that
I
Dune
think
was moved.
I think we had Dune on that list, and now it moved. So now I think there's like 2 movies that could go here, and
John McForn might end up in the top 10. That'd be kind of sick.
that would be pretty fucking sick. And those 2 are like the Marvels and Aquaman, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Wish.
And Wish. That's true, Tucker. And Wish.
Yeah.
All right. Headlines. It was a weird month for headlines, but there was some big stuff here, Tucker. There's some big stuff, namely, like the WGA strike is over.
Mm-hmm.
We did it. We did it, everyone.
Good job, people.
Hot union summer is coming to a close. We're negotiating with the WGA. Negotiations are over, I guess. They ended the strike and signed a new 3-year deal with the WGA. SAG is apparently closing in on a deal this week or next week as well.
That'd
So
be nice.
exciting.
Jesus.
Hollywood is getting back to work,
And
baby.
hopefully better for, of course, for everyone involved.
Exactly. Yeah,
Except for
yeah.
the studio heads, I don't give a fuck about them.
Yeah, good fuck those guys. All right. But Tucker, we had a victim. Another victim of the
I didn't hear
strikes.
about this, Tanner.
Yeah. El Muerto is canceled. And I'm not talking about the man.
The
I'm not
dream is
talking
dead.
he wasn't being inappropriate with coworkers, Tucker. The movie
Oh
is no longer
no!
happening.
No, I wanted to
Yeah.
see El Muerto. Oh man!
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe they shouldn't have struck.
was it really worth it at the end of the day? Was it really worth it, you greedy bastards?
Look what we've lost. Look what you
Yeah.
made us lose.
But yeah,
Christ.
Bad Bunny backed out of the project. I think he kind of came to his senses a little bit.
Yeah. What the? It was never gonna happen. But
Yeah. Technically, I think they said that like Bad Bunny backed out of the project, but they're not gonna recast. Bad Bunny was the only reason that movie was getting made.
Of course it was. Of course it was.
So yeah, El Muerto's done. Sorry. It's so Jover. It's so
So
Jover,
Jover.
everyone. Star Wars movies, one in, one out. I like to say. We got one Star Wars movie into production announced. They're making a Lando movie.
We'll see.
We'll see. And apparently, Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie is down the drain
Tanner,
as well.
you could have told me that this was the 4th time we've had that headline since we started last year.
The Taika Waititi's movie isn't happening.
Yes.
Yeah. What's interesting, Tucker? I think we talked about this briefly a couple weeks ago. What's Taika Waititi doing next?
Akira?
I think that's kind of what I said, because I think that's the one that's been like announced for the longest.
Mm-hmm.
But he has 10 movies and then a couple like HBO shows sprinkled on top of that he's signed on for to direct and write and produce.
Tanner, that's like
So,
30 years worth of projects.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, the Marvel's budget drama. It was a real roller
This is really
coaster
fucking funny.
over like 24 hours. It was specifically within 24 hours. It was like Wednesday. It came out like the Marvel's has a $130 million budget. Can you guys believe that? It's the cheapest Marvel movie ever made. I can't believe it. Like unadjusted for inflation, of course. But I ran the numbers. I was furiously Googling. It's like Iron Man, fucking Ant-Man. They all cost more than $130 million. But no, actually, it's actually 24 hours later. We got an addendum to that headline. It's actually $275 million, which is amongst the most expensive.
Oh,
I think the most expensive non-Avengers film. Yep.
Uh-oh.
Looks bad.
Uh-oh.
Seems bad.
Yikes.
Remember what I was
Good
saying
job,
about
Kevin.
remember what I was saying about the whole creator thing?
Oh, where
Just
we
know
can
that.
where we can just like shoot for cheaper and like use some techniques and like
Unrelated, I think. Unrelated.
unrelated to a director who makes a popular indie movie and then a mid-budget success and then throw on a $200 million budget.
I wasn't talking about anyone specifically.
No,
when I said
okay,
that.
all right.
Yeah. All right. Michael Caine retired.
I saw that one coming.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell me who he was already. What was the last movie
Yeah.
I saw him in? I have no fucking clue.
Tenet would be his last
Oh
movie.
wow. Oh, and that was a while ago.
Yeah. Which speaking of, the last line of dialogue that's ever said to Michael Caine in a film is "Goodbye, Sir Michael." That's just nice.
Yeah, that is
That's
nice.
just cute.
He'll probably come back for one more thing at some point though.
Yeah, maybe. Bob Marley One Love has been delayed to
Fine,
February
I
of
thought
next
that already
year.
happened. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was dated for January, but it just got delayed
Oh
to
well,
February.
who fucking cares?
Yeah. Smile 2 has got a date, Tucker, and confirmed and dated for October 18th of next year.
I honestly, Tanner, I'm very excited for the marketing campaign for this movie because what is this movie about? The main character's dead, as far as I remember.
Yeah.
More people are smiling.
What if it's
We're gonna learn more
what if it's-
smile lore.
What about Cal Penn? Can we have Cal Penn be the main character?
Sure. Did he die,
All right.
or is he still around? I don't fucking know.
No, I think she imagined him dying, but he didn't actually die.
Tanner, I have no fucking clue. That was
don't
1 year ago, Tanner.
It was.
It was over a year ago.
But now we're moving to October. We got that primo week before Halloween slot.
Man, ooh, they could really push this.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it'll be pretty big.
The honest truth, I'm really excited for a new crop of horror franchises.
Yeah.
Make a Smile 2. Make a Megan 2. Make more fucking Talk to Me movies. And in 10 years, we'll be able to look back and be like, Thank fucking God. We're not just getting the exact same shit that we've been getting for 20 years. These
Yeah.
are starting in the 2020s. Thank
Yeah.
you. I mean, I
Thank
didn't
you.
love Smile, but I'm so happy to have
Yeah.
a new idea as a franchise for horror movies.
100%. Tucker, Taylor Swift has gone global. There was concern about, obviously Eras Tour concert film is going to be massive, but like just how massive it wasn't initially going to open in international markets, but now it is. Opening in over 100 international markets, same day, October 13th. Tucker, that's in 1 week. I don't know if I'm prepared for the global takeover that's going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. It's
Um,
pretty
I,
crazy.
I I presume that it'll be projected on the moon at some point.
Yeah. And on
So
the dome, the Vegas dome.
and on the Vegas Dome. Oh, and speaking of, I don't have it in here, but Beyonce's Renaissance tour is also going to theaters on December 1st.
Good for her.
So another equally big thing potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Although Taylor Swift's the Eras tour just like became like one of the most, if not the most, pre-sold things
Theatrical
ever.
events, yeah.
Yeah, $100 million pre-sales.
Mm-hmm. Jesus.
Crazy, crazy stuff. And talking about the Golden Globes announced that they would be doing a blockbuster
Yeah.
award. Basically any film that made over what was it,
150
50 million,
worldwide.
150 worldwide, yes, will be eligible. It's an award for
Oh,
box
which by the
office.
way means that that means that Blue Beetle and Shazam are not eligible
No,
because they
yeah.
didn't make that much money.
I can't believe it. It's an award for box office success alongside creative and artistic success.
Yeah.
Creative and artistic achievement. It's going to Barbie. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, Tucker. As mentioned, October is a light month. And
Yeah, this
so
might be the lightest month we've ever had on here.
and looking at this slide, Tucker, you might be saying, "Oh, that looks like a normal number of movies coming out," but you gotta look a little closer, my friend.
Let me get out my
You, you, you,
spyglass.
you gotta take a peek because Tucker, there are four, count them, four big movies releasing
Yes,
this month.
and
Those
one of
being,
them is not a movie in the traditional sense.
yeah, it's not a narrative film.
No.
We have The Exorcist Believer, which actually has come out as
Mhm.
of time of recording. You have Taylor Swift The Eras Tour next week, October 13th.
Mhm.
October 20th is Killers of the Flower Moon, and October 27th is Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
4 weeks in October, one big release each.
Yep. And you know what? Maybe that's how it should be. To be completely honest, we've been talking, me and Game, in July and in April and even last month about how movies are eating each other's lunch because they're released on top of one another. And this month is pared down. And I think it feels weird because most months this year haven't been pared down. But
Yeah.
maybe this is a good thing. Maybe these movies will be able to have a little more space and have a little more cultural consciousness because they're not being completely gobbled up by one another. But in that same breath, they're all big movies releasing back-to-back weeks. So it'll be interesting to see how the box office shakes out. But I also think that for those big four movies, they speak to different markets. Obviously, there's some overlap with Exorcist and Five Nights at Freddy's. But also, there's
Not really.
also a lot that doesn't overlap between
Exorcist
those two.
Exorcist Believer's rated R. Five Nights at Freddy's is very much like a PG-13.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure the fan base, i.e., teenagers, are
Yes.
able to go out and see this.
Mhm.
So yeah, but it's also packed full of like indie releases as well.
In
you
limited
have-
release.
In limited release, of course. You have Foe, which has a.
We might talk
19%.
about that next month. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to check in. 19% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. That's the main conversation around Foe.
Oh, God.
We are actually, Tucker, I'm going to go see The Royal Hotel, which is also out this weekend. I'm going to go see that this weekend. And one that I saw a trailer for that's technically out this week. I don't know where or how or why or how much. But She Came to Me.
Yeah.
Is like a rom-com starring Peter Dinklage
Yeah.
and Marissa Tomei and
Super
Anne Hathaway.
indie. Yeah.
Yeah. Which with Anne Hathaway's a star.
No,
Can
all
we
three
get
of
that
them are. All three of them are.
Yeah, exactly. Can we get them in a wider release? I don't know. I digress. Tucker, Taylor Swift The Eras Tour comes out October 13th, but coming out that same day is in its U.S. distribution is Anatomy of a Fall,
Sure.
the Cannes Palme d'Or winner this year, and presumed Best Picture nominee.
We'll see.
We'll see how that shakes out. Killers of the Flower Moon. Speaking of Best Picture nominees, releases the same and releasing that same day is Dix the Musical,
Oh
which
yeah.
actually was on our slide for September, but got
Oops.
pushed.
You mean
Like got
August?
pushed.
Oh no, September. Fuck. I'm
Yeah,
getting my
yeah,
months all burbled
yeah.
up.
It got pushed. Apparently, getting a wider distribution now in
Okay.
October.
All
We'll
right.
see. Looks fun. And then releasing the same day as Five Nights at Freddy's is John Cena, Allison Brie joint called Freelance.
Yeah. Woohoo.
Woo! Yeah.
Yay. Okay,
Um.
October. We'll see what happens. I'm really curious to see what the top 10 openings are. That's gonna be
Yeah,
really
yeah,
funny. But because honestly, we're
yeah.
we're scrounging for scraps, trying to get a really solid top 5 here, and we have
Yes.
the same picks here for our October because
Uh huh.
it feels pretty easy. I I am making a shift right now.
You're hot swapping.
I'm hot swapping.
Okay, Tucker, will you hot swap? I threw my phone comedically, and I have to get it to remind myself what I actually said these movies
Okay,
would make.
that's a
So
great point.
just vamp for 2 seconds.
Look at this jackass. He thinks he thinks he can mess with me.
Okay, Tucker, I am ready to hit you with my predictions
Okay.
on what these movies will make opening weekend.
Hit
Are
me
you
with
ready?
it. Yep.
Okay, Tucker, for Taylor Swift The Eras Tour, I am going to say $110 million.
Sure. I think it can go higher than that, to be honest.
I think so too. I think so too.
Then why didn't
But
you
yeah,
put it higher than that?
I don't know. Why not? 110.
Okay.
No, Tucker, 120.
Do it.
Let's say that.
Do it.
120. And then at number 2, obviously there I have Five Nights at Freddy's, and for Five Nights at Freddy's, I'm gonna say 40 million.
Sure.
Wide gap, 1/3 of what the
Yeah, of
number one
course, of
film will be
course.
making. Yeah. And then Tucker, you did your hot swap. I'm sticking with Killers of the Flower Moon at 35.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be close. I think these three in the middle are gonna be close.
Mhm.
Exorcist Believer, I'm gonna say is about 25. I think right now projections are putting it at like 26 to 30.
Mhm.
So we'll see. And then After Death, which wasn't on our previous slide, but it is a documentary being distributed by Angel Studios
Yeah.
about like people who have survived near-death experiences and so on and so forth. I'm gonna say 10. I'm gonna say 10 for that. And the only reason we have that at that number 5 is because it's Angel
Yep.
Studios. They brought
We
you.
gotta notice them. We didn't know
Yeah.
about them before. They made a step in a big way, like factually.
Yeah.
So if they've got a new movie coming out, I feel like they're probably marketing it not to us but to the target audience,
Yes.
and that could mean a pretty solid opening weekend, enough to make number 5.
Oh.
But also, what the fuck else is gonna be number 5?
Like Freelance is the only thing that seems to be getting like wide-ish distribution actually. Okay. But yeah, there you have it, folks. Tucker, do you want to speak to your hot swap on why you flipped Killers and
I
Exorcist?
just don't have the faith that people will care that much about a big Martin Scorsese movie releasing. To be 100% honest.
Talk about Oppenheimer.
We'll see.
Okay.
I'm honestly, Tanner, I'm playing it safe. Exorcist
Okay.
Believer, bad movie. Don't want it to do
Yes.
well,
Uh-huh.
but I think that has a lot more potential to have a big first week than Killers of the Flower
That's fair.
Moon does.
That's a fair point, Tucker.
So I'm
That's a
playing
fair
it
point.
safe.
I see you. Okay, there you have it, folks. We did it. September, an interesting month, a very depressed month for the
Very
U.S. box
depressing.
office. Depressing and depressed.
Yes.
And October looks to be very light, but is going to be injecting it with a bit of cash flow at
Yes.
least, coming
Yeah.
from one department in particular.
Mhm.
But thanks for watching, everyone. Drop your predictions for October down in here. Tell us if there's something we're overlooking,
Certainly
and
possible.
tell us if you're gonna go see the Eras tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with that, we will see you next month to be breaking down all this and more. Very exciting. See you then.